All right, now we're going to talk through Concept 2 notes for CP students. This is the technological design process. So science versus technology. Science advances knowledge, whereas technology advances society, but these two do often go hand in hand. But as we kind of saw in Concept 1 and looking at the scientific method, that was kind of all about how to make an investigation to explore something, whereas technological design for technologies can be a little bit different process since they kind of do different things. Science does lead to new technology though, so these two things are very related, specifically for medicine especially, which you'll see. But what's different, really important, is the goal of technology is to solve problems, whereas science is more aimed at answering a question. So that's a distinct difference we're going to look at. An actual definition of technology is it's an application of scientific discoveries to meet human needs and goals through the development of products and processes. So we're going to kind of look at a compare and contrast later, but again, you're even seeing in here, science is a big part of technology, which is why we have a whole concept on this. So there are only 4 stages of the technological design process, but here they are. Because tech design deals with solving problems first, step is just to identify the problem. What is going on? This is when you would clearly define what's the problem or need. Second, you're going to come up with some sort of solution and you're going to design that. You're going to brainstorm, research, sketch, narrow down, and you're going to try to come up with the best design for a product or process to fix this problem. Because again, remember, for technology, we're making a product or a process. Then you're going to implement this. You're going to actually build and test and make improvements as needed. And then fourth, you're going to evaluate what you made. And you're going to say, did this solve the problem? Did it meet all of the constraints I have? And if so, you're going to be able to produce it and sell it. If not, you might have to go back to the drawing board. So it's really not a super complicated process, but I do want to zoom in on that solution design step because that's probably the one that takes the most critical thinking. So during that solution design stage, there's some requirements you need to consider. You need to consider cost effectiveness, or the lowest cost possible, time effectiveness, or the least amount of time required. If you've got a deadline to get something made, this really matters. And then materials, what is going to be best to make this? Are they reasonably priced materials? Are they available? How durable are they? Are you trying to make something that's going to last a really long time, or you just care about it being really cheap and durability doesn't matter? You maybe want to have materials that aren't harmful to users or the environment so that you can advertise that it's environmentally friendly. And now looking at all this, you may get overwhelmed and think it's impossible to ever have a perfect design, and that's usually pretty true. But in general, you really have to think, do the benefits greatly outweigh the risks? What is the most important to you for what you're trying to do? Is it cost? Is it time? Is it materials? What are the 2 most important things? And is this going to be, are there more positives than negatives in what you're doing? So now last, before we stop, again, shortest notes ever, I want to kind of compare the scientific investigation process we kind of talked about with the scientific method in Concept 1 with this technological design process, which is a little different. So you can see some similarities and differences. So in terms of scientific investigations, we're going to identify a problem, but we're really going to be more asking a question with that problem. What kind of questions do you have? After that, we'll research related information. We'll design an experiment or investigation. Then we'll conduct that with repeated trials. We'll analyze the results we get. And then we'll evaluate with a conclusion. Did the results refute or verify the hypothesis that we made? And then, of course, we'll communicate our findings, usually with a lab report. Tech design, we're going to identify a problem or need. We'll research related background information also. Instead of designing an investigation, though, we're going to design a process or a product to meet this need. Then we're going to implement the design or process, and we'll do repeated testing, which is similar to repeated trials. We'll test it over and over. We'll analyze the results we get, and then we're going to evaluate this process or product. Did it meet the criteria that we had to create within? And then we'll communicate also, but by communicating the product or process, we'll really put it out on the market or publish it in that way. So those are kind of some little differences. And that is the technological design process.